All right, let's dive into something it's a real paradox based on the work of Mark Douglas. We're going to talk about why the very thing that pulls us into trading, that incredible sense of freedom, might just be the exact thing that sets us up to fail.
So let me just start with this question. Just think about it for a second. In any part of your life, what if the one thing you're most proud of, the thing that you think gives you an edge, is actually a hidden trap? Well, in the world of trading, that's not just some philosophical idea. It's a cold, hard reality you live with every single day.
So, what is that strength? It's the absolute, total, unlimited freedom you have in the market. You can do whatever you want, whenever you want, and you don't have to answer to anyone. It sounds like the ultimate dream, right? But, as we're about to see, that dream can turn into a real nightmare fast. So, let's back up a bit. First, let's really get into why this freedom is so incredibly attractive. I mean, why do so many people flock to trading, often leaving behind these structured, predictable jobs and careers? Well, it's because the market makes this amazing promise. You get this unlimited freedom for creative expression. There's no boss looking over your shoulder, no punching a clock from 9 to 5. For maybe the first time in your entire life, you are the absolute master of your own destiny. It's one of the few places left where your success and your failure are completely and totally on you.
But here's the twist. This is where things get really tricky. This environment of total freedom, the very thing we crave, is something most of us are psychologically completely unprepared to handle. Mark Douglas has the perfect name for it, a psychological wilderness.
Just think about that phrase for a second. A wilderness. It's a place with no paths, no signs, no guardrails to keep you safe. Unlike your job, or a sport, or even just society itself, the market has zero external rules to guide you or protect you from yourself. It is pure, unstructured opportunity, and of course, pure, unstructured danger. And that right there is a huge weight to carry. The market is always moving, but your account, it does absolutely nothing until you and only you decide to make a move. That level of responsibility is immense. And honestly, it's terrifying for our brains, which have spent a lifetime learning to operate inside of structures. So, to really understand why this wilderness is so treacherous, we actually have to rewind, like all the way back to our childhood, and look at how our brains got wired in the first place.
Here's the core question we need to unpack. Why does total freedom, the one thing we think we want more than anything else, so often cause us to self-destruct? Well, the answer lies in this really deep-seated conflict that starts way back when we're just toddlers. Think about it. As little kids, we're just balls of curiosity, driven to touch everything, to explore everywhere. But what happens? Society, in the form of our parents and teachers, constantly steps in with a big, loud no. Every single no denies an impulse. And after hearing that thousands and thousands of times, we build up this huge subconscious backlog of frustration. We learn a very simple, very powerful equation. Rules equal the pain of not getting what we want.
So then, fast forward. We walk into the trading world, and what do we find? It's utopia, a place with no rules. The inner kid in us just goes wild. Finally, we can do anything we want. And the absolute last thing our subconscious mind wants to do is put rules on itself. I mean, why would we? We've spent our whole lives learning that rules are the enemy.
Now, this internal battle doesn't just stay as a feeling inside of us. Oh no. It shows up in very specific, very destructive trading behaviors. So let's break down the 4 big traps that traders fall right into because of this unresolved conflict.
These 4 traps are the direct results of an adult mind trying to operate in a totally limitless world, but with a childhood programming that hates rules. And as I go through these, just see if any of them ring a bell for you, maybe a little too closely.
The first one, and this is the most obvious, is just a deep, powerful resistance to creating and, even more importantly, following a trading plan. We all know we're supposed to have one, but every fiber of our being seems to rebel against it. And this quote from the source material just nails it. Every impulsive trade, every time you break your own rule, it's a little subconscious rebellion against every single person who ever told you no. We're having so much fun with all this freedom that self-discipline feels like we're just putting ourselves right back in that cage. Okay, trap number 2, a failure to take real ownership of our results. This one is huge because taking responsibility means we have to admit when we're wrong.
And let's be honest, our ego hates that more than anything. And here's a little mental game we play. If you just trade randomly on a whim and a trade goes south, it's easy. You can just say, oh, the market was crazy today. It's not your fault. But if you create a detailed plan, you follow it perfectly, and you still lose, well, now you have to face the music. You have to admit your idea was wrong. And most people would rather lose money randomly than feel that specific pain of being personally responsible. Now, the third trap is a little more sneaky, but man, is it powerful. It's basically an addiction to randomness itself. This taps into the same basic psychology that makes slot machines in casinos so incredibly effective. You know, behavioral studies have shown this over and over. A reward that comes at random times is way more addictive than one that's predictable. A monkey will press a lever way more frantically if it has no idea when the food is coming. That's exactly what happens to traders. They get hooked on the dopamine hit from a surprise winner, and before they know it, they're not trading for consistent profit anymore. They're just trading to chase that high. And that brings us to the final trap. This one is all about a fundamental, catastrophic misunderstanding of control. We try to use the same strategies we use in the social world and apply them to the market, and it's a disaster. See, in life, we learn to try and control or manipulate our environment to get what we want. But the market? It doesn't care what you want. You can't control it. The only thing you have 100% control over is yourself, your own perceptions, your decisions, and your actions. Shifting your focus from trying to control the external market to mastering your internal self, that's the entire game. So you're probably thinking, wow, this sounds pretty hopeless, right? If we're psychologically wired to fail in this kind of environment, how does anyone ever actually succeed? How do you escape this freedom trap?
Here is the hard truth. You have to be the one to provide your own structure. The market gives you the freedom you always wanted, but it will never, ever give you the rules you actually need. That means you have to build your own trading plan, define your risk, and really commit to following your own system, especially when it feels uncomfortable.
So I'll leave you with this final thought. When you really look at your own trading, are you building the structure you need to survive and thrive out there? Or are you just enjoying the view, wandering around aimlessly like a tourist in the wilderness? The first, most important step isn't on the charts, it's in the mirror. And the choice, as always in the market, is entirely up to you.